Hey, listen, our individual that's going to be talking to us this morning, one of my favorite speakers, probably we get the highest attendance, we get the greatest number of people to kind of come in and listen to this guy for good reasons. I think all of us are pumped up from a great meeting that we had down in Florida. So I'm not going to take all of your time, Ricky. And also, guys, listen, I'm going to record this as well because people say, "Hey, Terry, why don't you record these things?" So I'm going to record this. And by the way, if you have any questions, just go on the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen or wherever it is on your mobile device and send in a question and answer for Ricky near the end. We'll go 30 minutes. And also, if you don't have that, but the only thing you can find out is the chat, you can put it there on the chat too. So, Ricky, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you. Excited to have you with us as a guest host today. The floor is now yours, sir. Take it away.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much, and thank you, team, for allowing me to talk with you today and to talk about some things that we've learned from the retreat, and also a few other things that I think is important that we think about as we go into this next quarter. It's amazing to me to see how the time we're in now in the year, and it seems like we were just saying Happy New Year just the other day. And here we are now I hope y'all can hear me real good. Let's make sure I got yeah. Here we are now getting ready to go into the month of April and just like that. And so time, well, it just marches on. And so I want to share a few things with you that this morning that I think would help. It's going to help me, I know, as I go over these notes, even putting the notes together. Some things ran through my mind that was, I said, wow, I hadn't thought about that, I hadn't thought about that. And just coming off of a retreat, RVP retreat this past weekend, which was pretty amazing, and to say the least, real nice place, and the place is really nice. I told my wife, I don't think I've paid $600 some dollars a night for a place in a long time. And but when after the meeting was over, I said, "Wow, this is worth it because of the mindset that we glean after leaving the facility." It was pretty amazing. So I want to kind of give you kind of a picture of what we did last weekend. This was the whole all the team leaders that were there. My wife and I, as you can barely see us way back on the back there, and we all got some extremely good information. Mindset was a big part of that meeting this past weekend, so it turned out to be pretty awesome. Now, I want to kind of give you a few things from the notes that I took. As a matter of fact, Lynn provided notepads and pens for a lot of us leaders. We came with our iPads, and I left my iPad in Alabama. And so Lynn, as Miss Resourceful, Lynn's Miss Resourceful. She got notepads and ink pens and all this. But I want to just kind of cover just a few of the notes, and I won't do all this in grave detail. Just a few notes here that we learned from the meetings. This is something that Terry said. I think, this may have been Gus. Like, well, I can't recall. It may have been Gus. I think it's Gus said this, the guy that spoke with us as a guest speaker. The best way to lead others is to model success. Culture by default is a mess. It has to be, culture has to be by design. We can't just let it just happen. It can't just happen. He said trust is huge in relationships. So you have to cultivate it. That's right from the notepad here. Okay. He also said read 24 books, but track it. Nothing happens naturally. He also said read the 7 habits of highly effective people. And he also said smile. This is my notepad right here, team. I got pages and pages of notes, as do the other leaders that came to the meeting this past weekend. I've heard somebody say that smile melts all defense systems. It just relaxes everything in the situation. And it's important every now and then that we take the time to smile. And this is something that Terry taught this past weekend. It was a simple lesson, but it's so very important that we learn to do that. Also from the notes, this is something else that Terry said during the meeting. You know what to do, you just don't do it long enough. And sometimes folks are looking for, I think many of us are looking for a silver bullet. It's got to be a silver bullet. It's got to be a quicker way, something else that something magical. We know what to do. We just don't do what we know long enough. Another point that was made by Terry, you're not being beat, you're being out executed. And sometimes folks wonder, well, how in the world can she or he move so quickly? And they just got here the other day, and how can they move so quickly? How can it be so much better than me? And we're not being beat, we're being out executed. They're being more consistent. They have embraced a philosophy, they've embraced an ideology, they've embraced a work ethic, and they're playing at a level of their game, and they're staying in that level. And they've learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's something that I think we all have to work on in our business. Another point that was made by Gus Gonzalez, he says, if I could choose one word on mindset, it's belief. And sometimes that's the thing that holds us back more than anything else is our belief system. We don't believe we can go to a certain level of income. We don't believe we can build a certain number of RVPs. We don't believe we can master a sales system, as Terry mentioned during the RVP retreat. And those limiting beliefs limit our income, limit our ability to grow and lead and recruit and prosper and move beyond the comfort zone. It is the limiting belief thing that's stopping us from going to the next level. Then Gus said this, he says, know where you're going and it becomes easier. Know where you're going and it becomes easier. Well, my interpretation of that is we got to have some goals. We got to have some targets. If we aim at nothing, just aim at nothing, we're going to hit that every time because there's nothing specific that we're looking to achieve by a certain period of time. There's no destination. There's no target in the future. And so we just get in the car and just drive, and whatever shall be, shall be. And often, team, we live a lot of our lives that way. And we don't think about this automatic pilot mindset until we've gotten to a long place in life, a long journey. When I say a long journey, late in life, we say, wow, suppose I had been more intentional. Suppose I had been more specific. I would have eliminated a lot of time wasters in my life. I would have eliminated a lot of people that's really draining and being kind of like a leech or parasites. And that's not to put anybody down in the family, friends, none of that. But it is to say that there are certain people in your lives that's draining you dry. Okay. And we don't have the courage sometimes to cut that person loose. And that's what it's going to take going to the next level. And then also the point was made by Gus, the best way to lead others is to model success. You see, team, one thing that we have to embrace, this is not an easy embracing, is that people are always watching. People are watching us in public, and we watch ourselves, and our family watch us in private. And when we do something in public, that's like the North Pole and the South Pole, different from what we do in the private. Eventually it comes out and eventually the person implodes from the inside out. So character, integrity is a major part of building a business. It's a major part of life in general, but certainly a part of building a business is also important to have some degree of character. Now, Terry made this point here, and I'm gonna give you my interpretation of it. And I hope I'm right on this, but this is what I learned from it. I'm sure he has a much deeper interpretation on this here, but this is what I learned. Don't change the menu, especially for new employees. If you own a corporation, if you own a restaurant, and you let's say Chick-fil-A or any other restaurant, this is Bob Evans here, but any other restaurant, and you bring in a brand new employee, and this guy comes highly recommended. He knows how to run a kitchen. He knows how to get orders out real quick. This guy comes in, and you've been in operation now, Chick-fil-A, for a long time, right? and got all kinds of success. You go to Chick-fil-A, they got cars around the building. You go to McDonald's, it's 3 cars. Okay, but Chick-fil-A got cars around the building. Their philosophy is, it was my pleasure to serve you today, and all these nice gestures that you see at Chick-fil-A. But this guy comes in and says, I want to change it from, I want you to say it was my pleasure to serve you today. I want you to change it and say, y'all just have a good day. I don't want you to smile when customers come in. I want you to give them a real firm handshake and look them in the eye. That's all I want you to do. And move them on to the next customer. I want you to move. I want you to be quick. Don't give a, I want you to change the menu, but I want you to change it for me. I'm gonna give an example of what I mean by saying that. I got an email from a new recruit, and I changed the words a little bit, but this is essentially what they said right here. Good morning, Ricky. I've decided that I only want to get my license. I don't want to be field trained. I don't want to change or purchase any of the products. I don't feel comfortable talking to my family and friends. I don't feel comfortable doing that until I know what I'm doing. If you agree with my conditions, we can move forward with no problems. But if not, I'm afraid we'll have to part business ways. That's kind of funny, isn't it? I said, this is, and when I saw that, I said, this is a good training material right here. I mean, this is really good training material. I mean, nobody has to buy anything to come to work. We can't require that. You know, we believe it's important to practice what you preach, however, but we can't force anybody to buy anything to come to work. That's just not the way to come to work. But we do have a training system. We do have a routine. We do have somewhat of a regimen. And if you come in and say, I want to get the diploma, but I don't want to go to class. I want to become a doctor, but I don't like taking tests. If you come in and you don't want to follow basic instructions, you're essentially saying to me, I want you to change the menu. Change the menu for me. I'm not going to go any further with that one, team. I think you get the point, okay? It's really important. This is our team right here. Our team we all have the same menu. And on that team are people from all backgrounds. You got people in that background that has PhDs and managers and leaders and teachers and business owners and HR managers, all backgrounds in that group. But we put all those titles aside because we all eat from the same menu. We have a team philosophy. Now we're still building that and developing that as time progresses, but we have one team. And I want to say this to all the new team members that are on the team right now. I just want you to hear what I'm saying right here now. If your coach calls a play, run the play. They're not going to listen. They're trying to win. They want to win like you want to win. And just think about this for a moment. Just think. Something else there to talk about this weekend is thinking, and we're going to deal with that a little bit as well. They're not going to do anything that's going to hurt you because it hurts them. All right. Just all you have to do is understand that. And so if they call a play, run that play because it's going to help you and it's going to help them. Now, so that brings me to my closing points here. The word is think. And Terry really emphasized that this past weekend. He said, just think. And he covered a few things that we have to think about. And I'm going to go and cover a few more things as well this morning that we need to, as leaders particularly, and those that are aspiring to be leaders and coaches, to think about. Number one, thinking gives you a clarity of mind. When we take time to think, we clear our minds of this thing called clutter. You know about this clutter, right? And this kind of clarity helps us to work through complicated life issues. You talk to some folks about what's going on with your relationship, what's going on with this, what's going on with that. They say it's complicated. What's going on with your child being so disrespectful to you in front of everybody. They say it's complicated. What's going on with in your marriage, and because he's doing this and she's doing that and all this, they say it's complicated. What's going on your job now? They say, and your employer is talking to you any kind of way. He said, well, it's complicated. Well, team, we got to take our time and think and get some clarity of mind. And it's going to help us to work through these complicated issues. Another reason why it's important to take the time to think, because thinking is good for problem solving. There is something called deep thinking. Deep thinking is a real thing. Deep thinking allows us to analyze problems from different perspectives. And this allows us to come up with effective strategies to overcome, there's the word, the issues. The issues. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about being, being diligent. To be because there's issues in life, and we got to be real. We got to guard our heart, is the way the verse goes. Guard our heart with all diligence, because out of the heart flows the issues of life. So it's important. I think it's Proverbs something. You have to look it up. You can Google it. Guard your heart with all discipline, all diligence, because out of the heart flows the issues of life. So thinking helps us with problem solving. So I want you to also, I read this blog this morning, and I just read it this morning actually, eliminating blind spots. And the blog talks about why leaders must make time for deep thinking. And it's by, you just Google that as well, and it's pop right on up. And it was a really good blog, and it's not that long, and I think you would enjoy reading it as I did, because it talks about the importance of taking the time to think. The next important reason why we should think is self-reflection and growth. It's important, team, to take the time to reflect on life experiences, to reflect on life actions, and on the beliefs. And this will help us to better understand ourselves. And I guess what I'm saying here is introspection. Introspection, it's really a self-examination. You go to the doctor every 6 months, every year. You get to a certain age, you go a little bit more often than you went at a young age, but you have to go to let them check you out, see what's going on, what has changed in life. It's an examination. Well, introspection is when we as individuals examine ourselves. What am I doing? What is ineffective? What is wasting? Where am I wasting time? How can I be more effective with my time? Is there such thing as time? Is time blocking a real thing? And does time blocking really and truly work? It is a self-examination. And give yourself a grade, and give yourself a real grade. If the grade is a D, it's a D. If it's a C, it's a C. Whatever it is, we got to give ourselves a grade. This is self-reflection and growth. And then thinking enhances decision making. You see, when I rush to make rush decisions, they often lead to regrettable outcomes. But this is called a deliberative thinking process. A deliberative thinking process minimizes the likelihood of ill-informed decisions. This is why I don't try to pressure anybody to buy. I don't believe in pressuring a person to buy. If they blink their eyes twice, go for the throat. If they do this, and this is the time to go for the clothes. To each his own. I don't believe in doing that, because it leads to what I call, and what we all know too familiar with, it's called chargebacks. So they think about that forced decision later, and then they change their mind, and I don't want it anymore. I know this is going to make a lot of sense to me. I know this is going to change my family's life, but I don't want it anymore, because we didn't give them enough information to make an informed decision. We pressured them to make a decision they were not ready to make. We're not ready to take ownership of. Here, talk about accountability is not consequence. Accountability is ownership. The next important thing, team, I want to talk to you about here, and I want to kind of bring it on to a close here, is creativity and innovation. This is what thinking does. It's about allowing our minds to wonder and engage in divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is also a real thing, team. It helps us in unleashing our creative potential. Divergent thinking. To think in different directions. To not think in the same pattern. To change course in the thinking direction. To take a look at the internal compass. And to really get a gauge of what that inner voice is telling us to do. It's divergent thinking. not just the normal everyday kind of thinking. And team, you know what? I mean, I hope I've said something in this short few minutes of time that would help. And I hope those that were there, I think the 45 or so leaders that were there this past weekend, come back and I've gone over these notes and this little notepad right here over and over and over again. I mean, sitting right here on my desk right now. I'll probably read it again today, reading them again today. Because we don't want to go to a retreat unless just it'd be a family reunion, okay? And we don't do anything from the information. We want a retreat to be in something that we can take, we can use, we can implement. Execution is the word. And so I would encourage you to, and I want to remind the team again about this 12-week year book here, and of course remind everybody about the 12-week year again, and also about the audio, which I've gone through several times. But for some reason this weekend, Terry, the way you did this, Terry, I'm gonna tell you right now, you brought it alive. Okay, it's amazing how you can read a book and go through all your books over and over again. I've done it a number of times in this book right here, starting last year. Okay, but the execution is a missing link. Thanks, Terry. That's all I got. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Ricky. I appreciate your time with us this morning, and we have time for a few questions. So if you want to put some questions down already, we've had Lynette Burkhart talk. What a great thing that you just put down there, Lynette. Ricky, I talk. The thing about accountability. We talk about that a lot, and the thing that really struck me in this book, and I think I've made the mistake as a leader sometimes, and I think also as setting my own goals, that accountability is not consequences, it's when you take ownership. And that involves everything around your life. Can you talk about that, maybe in your own life, how switching from that thing and taking accountability and not beating yourself up or beating others, but it's, hey, look, this is the ownership of this. This has got nothing to do, with me being a bad guy or whatever it may be, but measurement is so critical. So talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Terry, I think a lot of the guys know that I've been around and for a long time how important family is to me, my family. Okay, everybody knows I'm always, somehow it always comes up. I'm like a football coach that the conversation always ends up in about football in some way or another. Well, for me, it's family. And so when I married my wife 38 years ago, Terry, and I took ownership of my responsibility, okay, meaning that whatever happens, I got to make sure as a leader of my home and the provider and protector of my home that I'm going to make it happen. I took ownership of the responsibility to get that done. Now, if I go to a course, a marital course, if I read a book that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, whatever direction, Mars or Venus, I read that whole book, that's fantastic. If I go to and get counseling during the 38 years, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's ownership. And I have to leave it enough to take it in my arms and make sure that I protect it. And regardless of what somebody says on the external stimuli, okay, whether I get that or not, I have to have the mindset, here's that word again. I know I'm saying it a lot, responsibility to take ownership and not take ownership because I'm worried about the consequences. Life is consequences. Getting out of the bed is a consequence. Driving to the stores, there's going to be a consequence. But the ownership is now it's not just cognitive. Now it's emotional. Now it's more than just information. It has gone now to revelation. That this is an internal knowing, Terry. It's a knowing that I can't get by reading a book. Does reading a book help? Yes. But it's a knowing that I can't get by going to a course. Does going to a course help? Going to a course helps? Yes. but it has to be deeper than that. And ownership takes it to an entirely new level, because ownership has, inside of the heart of ownership, is initiative. Initiative and ownership are Siamese twins. And so I have the initiative to do what needs to be done, even if I'm not told to do it. I own it now. Now, the other things that we do can help us connect the dots, okay, and begin the process. But ownership has to. Hey, Terry, you know what? Ownership is personal. I mean, I don't want to go on and on with that, but I'm just. That's kind of how I feel about it now. Now, I have not arrived in ownership and now there are certain areas I own it. I got it. Listen, I don't need, like with my family. Hey, that's who I am. That's a part of who I am. The other thing we got to develop in, but it doesn't change the fact that it has to be developed.
Ricky, what advice would you give? I mean, we're ending the first quarter right now. Okay, so you got a track record. You'll have a track record in the next. I think close of business is April the 5th. So today's the 23rd. So we've got like 7, 8 days if we include today. Plus enough. So we got another 2 weeks really till the close of business. What do you see? What advice would you give to somebody right now that's maybe they set the goals for the year and already creeping into their mind is, maybe they didn't own their goals, maybe whatever it is, they've just maybe given up, or there's no self-reflection, or there's no review of it. Talk a little bit about what that person or what we all maybe need to do in this end of this first quarter so that we hit the things, we own the things, we do the things we say we're going to do. Talk about that for just a little bit, if you don't mind.
No, Terry, that reminds me. Me and Melvin Edwards had a conversation during the retreat, and I mentioned to Melvin, keep something to the effect of keep your foot on the gas. During this game, this Primerica game, these quarters that we're in, you're not going to win on the scoreboard every quarter. It's going to look like you're behind. It's going to look like this. Okay, right now we're in March Madness. Basketball all over the place. Okay, the other day I can't think of the team that came back from 20 points down. It looked like it was all over, but it came back from 20 points down and then won the game. These girls basketball, but they kept playing the whole 60 minutes. For an example, this month I got 5 directs, and it should be 7 directs. But then other things and the other production is not where it needs to be. I'm not worried about that. I'm not all concerned. I'm not just depressed, because I know one thing I'm going to do, Terry: keep my foot on the gas. You see, what I would say to the team members that are just kind of vacillating, and you don't feel good because of last month or this month or whatever the case may be, a month ago. If you keep in this business here, if you keep the pressure on, keep the pedal to the metal, you play all out, go full throttle. Sometimes that means playing on the weekends, okay? When you would have taken off Saturday or taken off on a Sunday after church, work Sunday after church, work Saturday as well, work Saturday afternoon. I got appointments today. Okay, now this ain't no relaxed day for me today. I got appointments tomorrow, Sunday. I'm going to a church to speak at the church on money moves. That's going to be the sermon. That's what the pastor wanted, okay? So he understands money is important. He understands. Listen to this. Listen to this thing. Money is mentioned in the Bible over 2,000 times in some form or another. More than a lot of other real important subjects. And now they're beginning to understand that as well. So my point is work all the way through. Even when at the end of the quarter there's a time to break. If you have not break in this 12-week year, one of the principles is go 12 weeks. If you hit your target in 12 weeks, 13 weeks, chill a little bit. But if you didn't hit your target, there's no chilling. Okay, that's keep it moving and keep it going. And so now let me just kind of say this real quick as well, kind of in response to that question right there, Terry. This is not to to say be a fanatic, but it is to say be a fanatic. Okay, it's gonna listen. It is what it is. It's gonna take it's gonna take what it takes. So keep the pedal, keep moving, even when the game is, even when you can't. Everything you put up, nothing falls. I mean, you got the set shot. You're thinking but everything you shoot up, nothing falls. But keep shooting.
And last question for you, because this had a big impact on me. So I meant to ask you this question if it had similar impact on you and what you heard from it. We asked everybody to stand up at the end and tell everybody what they had learned. And your partner got up and stood up and gave, I don't think I've ever heard, I've heard her speak before, but I've never heard her speak like that. And you know, because most of the time you do the speaking. Can you kind of summarize what she said, and then also maybe what impact that had on you, that little short minute or 2 minutes that she took? Because I meant to follow back up with you. So would you just cover that? That's the last question for the day.
Yeah, I got to be careful on that one, because I get a little emotion on that, So I'm gonna be real careful on this, on how to answer that question right there, because that's the love of my life, and that's where all my that's why I do what I do, and that's kind of she's the wind beneath my wings, and I love her more than life itself, you know. Absolutely. So when she said, you see, my wife speaks right directly from her heart. Okay, there's no prepared speech. There's none of that. It's directly from her heart. And the Lord has blessed us. My wife and I, we've hit a milestone from an investment standpoint that nobody in our family has hit. And we talked about that over the weekend. We hit that mile, and I show her the brokerage accounts that we have. We have our brokerage accounts with Fidelity, one of our partners, and I show her what we had, and and I think she had a general idea, but she really didn't know for real. But what we want to do now is, you want to, the point that she was making, she knows that we can do so much more. Okay, she knows that we have it in us to earn $1 million every year. She knows that. So it's going, what it means is, and she verbalized it in a few simple words. And see, being married for 38 years, I can hear what other folks can't hear. You can't hear. I mean, I can hear. She can hear when I can say something. She hears what nobody else can hear, because we know one another so well. It means we got to go for it, Terry. The interpretation of those short words are, we got to go for it. Okay.
I'll tell you,
That's what it means.
that impacted me so much, Ricky, when I heard her talk like that. We had a couple of
Yeah.
other people that were guests there that were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And hey, listen, I want to thank you for your time. Any closing remarks that you have for the group?
No, Terry, I would just say that take the time to do some self-reflection. Take the time to look at where you are in life and where you want to be in the next 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years, and then take ownership of the journey, because it's going to be a journey.
Hey, Ricky, thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate everybody here that's just listening to Ricky today. And guys, we're finishing up the first quarter. As he said, reflection, let's plan it out, let's play through. If you need any help, let's go ahead and ask for it. And Ricky, you have a nice rest of the day. For the rest of you, hey, let's keep on working. Let's keep on winning, man. Take care. We'll see everybody soon. Bye-bye now.
All right. Thank you, Terry.